Let's talk a little bit more about on the business side of things. I mean, this program is changing the way that the Post is bringing services to. So that means that there's a lot of change going on in the company.
Yeah.
So how, and the Post is a traditional company, I would say. So how have you and the team here managed this cultural change that is necessary for us?
In fact, it is a great culture change. For the IT part, what we started doing 3 years ago is to put the customer really in the center. We always said that we do before, but in fact we really don't. That is a big change. I said to my team, this is a Copernican revolution. That means the sun now is really in the middle.
The customer is the sun.
Yes, the customer is the sun. So that's a really big change. And what we have to manage is that when you have businesses that are growing, some are decreasing, you have to be very agile because you don't know. We don't really know what we will do in the next 3 years. For example, what I mentioned before, the AI solutions, 25 months ago, I didn't imagine that we will do that. That is the kind of thinking that we have to. So the change of what we call the agile mindset is something very, very, very important for us because we don't know how our businesses will change. And when you try many services, you have to fail fast. And you have to change your mind, and you have to learn about what you fail. And that is a big issue and the big change in the mindset. So everything should be analyzed, thinking. We have to be very agile. We have to be time to market. We have to try something very fast, and you have to fail very fast. This is the bigger level of the change that we have to manage.
And how have you really done this? Because I mean, the theory is clear. We need to be more agile. But in a traditional organization, how do you change the culture? How do you make sure that people start to work more agile? This
is a question that is many guys ask to me. How do you do that in very short time? When you have to do it, it's much more easy to do. That means we do not have change because the disruption is so hard for us. That means there is no other issue.
Change or die.
Yes, that is quite this kind of action that we have to manage. So, but at the same time, we have a very big chance is we know why we do that. To change the culture, you have to have a big why. That means why we want to change the enterprise, why we change the culture, and why we want to be more and more services compliant. And our ambition to be the first leaders of services is something which is very strong. And it is totally integrated in our culture. And once you have the big why, you can do very surprising things. That means
so you have to give the people a
great
reason, a goal, a meaning for why
a very
they are
big
here.
Meaning, but a meaning that they believe in.
And so giving them the vision that the Post is the #1 operator in the services to individuals is like the common goal, the common meaning for everybody in the organization.
That is the first step. That means you have to know, you have to share the visions, to know where we are going. And after that, you have to organize, of course, all the brain of the company should be aligned to that goal. And for doing that, we have to give them a lot of autonomy. That means the postmen are very proud of being postmen in their company. And if you give them the way to drive, they drive very well. So we split all the organization in small teams. Very small teams. I call that pizza team, but it's quite a common word now. Pizza team, but because when you are more than 6 on a pizza, it's not good. That's not enough. So a small team, for example, in the IT organization, I split 46 teams of 6 or 8 guys maximum, and I gave them a goal, which is to provide a component that can provide services, and integrating all these components, we can provide some things that we didn't do before. because we have to manage a lot of complexity. That means you can imagine the IT that we are building alone. That means it's too sophisticated, it's too complicated. So before, when I arrive, I have many silos of IT, one for mail, one for parcel, one for services, one for press, one for advertising, and so on. So we decide to put everything in just one microservices orchestrated IT that we deliver in less than 3 years. So that was our goal, that was our vision. And to do that, you have to have a lot of enablers, technical enablers. We use React architecture, we use event-driven architecture. We have a lot of infrastructure. We use our own hybrid private cloud that we have to launch to do that. But we do that to provide our architecture, and based on autonomy, we liberate a lot of energy in the company. And building small steps, small minimal vital products, in fact, orchestrated with agile framework. We are using SAFe for agile at scale framework. We launched 6 trend organized to organize all these teams, because there are training for that. There are a lot of interactions that have to be managed to create this big brain integrating small autonomous brain.
So you've given them a big why. You've split IT up in many different small teams. You give them enough autonomy. And you give them training in how to, and you give them very specific goals, very specific domains where they are responsible to come to results.
We have a big picture of the architecture that we want to organize, because you don't build a city without a plan. That means we think about and we share the plan of all the components we have to integrate. We start 3 things. The first thing is what I call creative abrasion. That means to collaborate. If I want to collaborate with you, I have to confront your ideas. You have ideas, I have ideas. And if we will be richer if we share our idea, even if we are not agree. The old vision was the chief as the true, and
and we need to follow in.
I don't have the true. Nobody has the true, but we have to start abrasive cooperation. So I start liberating all the energy. So at the beginning, it was quite hard, because I think I have to do that. I think I have to do that. Okay, you not agree? Discuss until you come to a conclusion.
So you believe in the power of confrontation?
Yes.
That's interesting.
And the collaboration is first confrontation. It was quite a change in the culture, because the culture was the
command and control,
top down. So I say, no, you will confront yourselves, and we will find abrasive. It's a word that I use quite every day. So that was the first part. And so we start agility creative, what I call. So SAFe and that all, giving autonomous based. That is something that start going quite well. It was based off a culture of agile, because agile is something very that require a lot of organization. In fact, what we say agile is you can do whatever you want. No,
it needs to be organized.
It's a very well organized agile framework. You have to respect many things, many ceremonies and so on. But in this organization, which is very rigid, in fact, you can provide many creativity, because the purpose is to liberate energy and to provide creativity. And when the guys know the why, they can confront themselves. When they are well organized with a framework of practices which are very efficient, in fact, they can produce very good things. very fast. And delivering with small steps.
Yep.
That means, you know, all this image. When you build a car, you can start building the wheel, the motor. We don't do that. What we do is we're starting with a skateboard, and then it could be a trottinette or a bike. Yeah. But that is something that is running on the road. Yeah. That means...
so you build it while it's running and...
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not a 6, 12, 24 months delivery, no, that's over.
No, but that requires a lot of technology to do that. Yeah. That means you have a CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. You have to provide a mini industrialization. We have a factory of delivering IT software. That means you are not an artisan. That means you have to be industrial to do that. You have to have cloud-ready application. You have technologies that provide CI/CD infrastructure. You have to have all the KPIs that manage you, that show you that you are running well, and you can do that. So that means a lot of organization, but letting the people in the center and with a lot of creativity, because the knowledge is done by the guys of La Poste. My main strength is my brains of all my teams, all they can provide.
Let's also talk a bit about your management style. I mean, you described the working in agile and in small teams and so on, so I can imagine that, and that you give people a lot of freedom. Yeah. But I can imagine that also your management style has evolved over the years. Yeah. That 10 years ago you were a different manager than today.
Yes, of course.
Can you talk about that?
As I mentioned before, I've learned for failure. So I'm sure that my management has changed because we now can't manage our teams like we did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you can say to one team, do that, and they do it. Now, if I say do that, I say at the same time, but do not do what I ask you to do. That means the management is really changing because the complexity of the way that we have to manage is very hard. Before, we have to manage simple things that can be organized by one guy, one project leader, and he can provide this project. Now, the complexity that we have to manage is so high that just one guy cannot manage it. So you have to make them the people collaborate and to think about at the same time on the same goal to deliver small product step by step. And to do that, the leaders that you have to be is very different. You have to give them, you have to empower them, to give them their autonomy. But at the same time, you have to be a different kind of leader at the same time. Sometimes you are coach. Sometimes you have to decide very to share the vision. So we are not just one leader. We are many leaders in the same body now. So that is the rule. And you have to adapt. You have to be agile. Also in the way we are leading the teams. Nothing is just, you can't be only one kind of leaders now.
So what do you think people say about you when you're not around? What do you think your teams, your people, how would they describe you if you're not there?
Sometimes they say, oh, Lionel has got a new idea. It will be very hard to follow him, but we will think about. So I always try to be behind, to bring the new ideas and to ask to my team, what do you think about that idea? Do you think you can challenge or can we reach that level? What do you think about this level of quality, for example, we can reach? Are you okay to do that? So I'm the guy who asks impossible question, and my teams are the guys who try to reach that impossible level that I ask them to reach.
Okay, let's talk a bit, because we're getting close to that. Let's talk a bit about your personality then. We asked you to do the MBTI personality test. And outcomes that you are an ANFP or ANTP, I mean, emotional and rational are almost like 50-50. So very well balanced, which is very powerful, I would say. So you're more extrovert, more intuitive if you look at the big picture. and you're more prospecting, perceiving, more than judging. So that's your personality, and that comes out. So people with this profile called campaigners, these are people that are curious, they're observant, they have high energy, they're very good in communication, they're popular, they're friendly. Does that sound about right for you?
Yeah, yes, that could be true.
Okay.
But at the same time, yes, I think that's true. In fact, you're right.
Now, the interesting part of this is nobody's perfect, so everybody has development areas.
Yes, of course.
People with your personality profile sometimes have difficulties to focus. They sometimes overthink things, and they're sometimes too independent. So let's talk about your development areas and how have you overcome them? How have you become a top digital leader? Because then you have to be able to focus, and you have to be able to not to overthink, and to work together with your team.
I think one thing which is very important for me is to learn step by step. And for that you have, and it's very well organized in agile method, you have to have some feedback. And what I love having is some feedback. Yeah. It's quite the same as I said to Abrasion. I ask to my teams, what do you feel? Give me feedbacks, even of my way of leading the point. And I organize all the feedback with KPI, with like Net Promoter Scores. It's a way to have feedback. Okay. And if you have feedback and you analyze them well, you can improve step by step, very slowly, or in some gap if you have to. But this is the most important thing for me. And this is in fact my definition of be agile.
Okay. So people are watching this very interesting video. Several of them will have the ambition to become a top digital leader like you. What would your advice be to them? What do they need to do? How do they need to think? What do they need to learn to become a top DSE?
When I was very young, I asked to a very big chief company this question. And he told me something that I use still now, but we complete it at the end. He said, if you have to be good in your company, always choose your boss.
Choose your boss?
Yes.
Okay.
And I always choose my boss. Okay. That is the first thing. And the second one is you should work in a company where you believe in the why of the company.
Okay.
So if you have a why and a good boss, you can do great things.
And what are your criteria for a good boss? When do you say that's a good boss for me?
A good boss is someone who has a good vision and let you are the confidence in your boss, and let you the autonomy of bringing your value.
Yeah. So your advice to young professionals is one, to choose your boss, and two, to go and work for a company where you believe in the why.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Lionel, thank you very, very much for this very interesting conversation and for sharing your insights and experiences. And thank you for your hospitality here in Paris. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.